Ayo, back at it again with another video. Thank you all for watching. I greatly appreciate it. So, the college football playoff is going to be released here soon. So, this is my prediction of what I think the 12-team college football playoff bracket should look like. So, I am recording this at 1:03 a.m. on Sunday, December the 7th. So, the conference championship games have just wrapped up. Indiana beat Ohio State 13-10 in the Big Ten championship. Georgia and Texas Tech won in the Big 12 and the SEC. And then in the ACC, Virginia lost to Duke in overtime. So Virginia had an opportunity to win and get the 11th seed or the 12th seed, depending on the rankings. But since they lost, it looks like we're going to get Tulane, the 11th seed, and James Madison, the 12th seed. So there is a conundrum. Basically, we have 4 teams fighting over 2 spots. So I think the 2 teams that are out are Alabama and BYU. So the 4 teams fighting for 2 spots are Alabama, BYU, Miami, and Notre Dame. And the reason why I took Alabama and BYU out is because after watching those conference championship games, that was painful to watch. BYU scored in the first quarter. They were up 7-0 after the first quarter and then forgot how to play football the rest of the game. You gave up 34 unanswered points to Texas Tech. And in my opinion, after the first quarter, BYU just forgot how to play football. Watching BYU on that field was Texas Tech made them look like they didn't know how to play football. Same thing with Alabama and Georgia. Alabama put up a garbage time touchdown in the fourth quarter. Alabama did not show up to that conference championship game for 3.5 quarters. They did not show up against Georgia for 3.5 quarters. And then they put up a garbage time touchdown at the end to not get blown out. That Alabama performance in the SEC championship and that BYU performance in the Big 12 championship was terrible, in my opinion. That I personally think they're the first 2 out. So again, you have the conundrum. You have 4 teams and you have 2 spots. You have Alabama, you have BYU, you have Miami, and you have Notre Dame. Alabama and BYU had the opportunity to win their conference title games, and then you're in. You win, you're in. But they didn't. BYU showed up for the first quarter. Alabama showed up for the second half of the fourth quarter. But yeah, I think Alabama and BYU are out. Those were not great performances. And not great is very, very kind because, yeah, they were pretty bad. Miami, I think, gets the 9 seed, and Notre Dame gets the 10 seed. And the reason why I put Miami higher is because they played already this year. Miami gets the higher seed because of head-to-head. So we're going to scroll back up to the top. Indiana gets the number 1 seed. I put Georgia at 2, Ohio State at 3, and Texas Tech at 4. I think those top 4 seeds are pretty set in stone at the moment. It just depends on, does Ohio State drop to 2? Does Indiana and Ohio State swap 1 and 2? Or does Ohio State drop down to 3? I personally put Georgia at 2 because that was a pretty convincing win for Georgia over Alabama. So I put Georgia at 2, I put Ohio State at 3, and I put Texas Tech at 4. Number 5 will be Oregon in this bracket, and Oregon will host the 12 seed James Madison. So James Madison gets the 12, Tulane gets the 11. 11 is Tulane, the American Conference champ. 12 is James Madison, the Sun Belt Conference champ. And since Duke beat Virginia in the ACC Conference Championship game, I think Duke is ranked lower than Tulane and James Madison. If Virginia won, they would have probably gotten the 11 seed, and Tulane probably would have gotten the 12 seed. But they lost in overtime. So I think Tulane gets the 11, goes to Ole Miss at 6. I believe that already happened this year, if I remember correctly. A&M and Notre Dame already happened this year, but I think Notre Dame gets the 10, A&M gets the 7. And then number 9 is Miami, goes to number 8, Oklahoma. This is just kind of how I think it'll go down. Does Alabama have a case for the playoffs? I'm sure they do, but to be honest, that was a really bad SEC championship game for them. So this is how I think it's going to pan out. Will I be right? Maybe. Will I be wrong? Possibly. I think seeds number 1 through 8 and 11 and 12 are pretty much solidified. The only issue is number 9 seed and number 10 seed. So I put Miami at 9 and Notre Dame at 10 because Alabama and BYU just did not do well this weekend. So I put Miami and Notre Dame at 9 and 10. So A&M would host, Ole Miss would host, Oklahoma would host, and Oregon would host. So we will see if I'm right. You know, there might be a little bit of movement here and there, but I think most of the seeds are pretty much set in stone. You just got to figure out the 9 and 10 seed. With that being said, that's the end of the video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Deuces.